Hey guys, welcome to Home Sweet Homeschool. If you're new here, my name is Ashley and I'm a homeschooling mom to one. And in today's video, I'm going to give you a homeschool update. I like to do these at the beginning of the 6 weeks and then at the end of the 6 weeks to let you know how everything went, what we've been doing, if we changed anything. So if you want to see ours from this year, definitely go check out my other videos. So here's the thing. I sat down to film this and I'm like, I have no idea what 6 weeks we were on. I want to say we were at the end of our fourth 6 weeks, starting our fifth 6 weeks, but I could totally be wrong. See, when I taught public school, I kept up with things like that, but I don't have to anymore. So I do believe this should be the end of the fourth 6 weeks update. You'll know in the thumbnail. It'll tell you. Right now, no idea, but I think it's the end of the fourth 6 weeks. So if you're new, we use Gather Around Homeschool. We've been using it for, since its beginning. So quite a while now. And we just finished up Inventions and Ideas. So I'm going to get to talking about that in just a second. A little update on math. We do use teaching textbooks. I love teaching textbooks. My son likes teaching textbooks, but we got to a point, I don't do it. He got to a point where he was tired of doing it on the computer. And if it starts to be a problem, like he was dreading doing math and he would fuss, and that wasn't like that for a while, and so he started fussing, and I'm like, we've got to change it up. We like teaching textbooks. We didn't want to leave that, so I ordered the books. Here we go. I mean, it's nice and thick, but you know what? It works. So yeah, I know it's designed to be done on the computer or on your tablet. I totally get it. And they came out with that awesome 4.0, which I thought was super cool. But you know what? It didn't meet my son's needs, and we changed it up. So we stayed with teaching textbooks. We just moved to the book form, and it's smooth sailing. We're doing perfectly fine with it, and we may even use the book for next year. Who knows? So there's your math update. All right. Let's talk about what we read during that last 6 weeks. Go over some of the books. So like I said, we did the Inventions and Ideas unit from Gather Around Homeschool, which, by the way, you gotta do it. If you are new to Gather Around, or if you're looking for your next unit, pick Inventions and Ideas. It is so much fun. We learned a ton of stuff, so definitely pick it. So we read, look at my receipt still in here. That's cute. That was our bookmark. We read Who Was Thomas Alva Edison and Who Was Nikola Tesla. They are both featured in Inventions and Ideas, and I'm sure there are tons of Who Was books that would fit with that unit. We read these two. We learned lots of good information. I highly recommend the Who Was books. Love them. Our read aloud was Ben and Me. Now, I like the idea of it. It was a story told from the mouse, Amos, right here. It was told from his point of view. He is Ben's friend. He lived in Ben's house. He helped Ben out with his ideas, and I love that idea. I thought that was really, really cute. The way it was written, God, I don't even know how to describe it. Kind of like when I had to read Shakespeare in high school, and like you would read it and you're like, what did they say? And so I would read this, and while I understood it, my son would be like, I have no idea what they're talking about. So it's not all written like that, but kind of the way that they talk. I can't even describe it. It's hard for me to describe. It's just written differently, in a different way, that we do not talk that way. And so he had a hard time understanding some of it, but luckily we found the Disney cartoon version of Ben and Me on YouTube, and so we would watch that. We would read a couple chapters and we would watch that cartoon up until that point, and then we would read and watch the cartoon. And so we did that over the course of the book. The problem is the cartoon's about 30 minutes long, and it doesn't include everything in here, but it really gave us an opportunity to talk about what's in the book and what's not on the cartoon. So if you read this, you may want to find the Disney cartoon on YouTube of Ben and Me. It helped us out. That's what we read. All right, what do I want to talk about first? All right, let's talk about the planning pages. So these planning pages are going to come at the beginning of every one of your units. You don't have to use them if you don't want to. What I use them for is to write down anything that's not already in the unit here. So if I go find a video, or if I want to do an extra activity or anything like that, I'm going to put it on this planning sheet. I also, for my sake, because I do tend to forget, I write down days that we need to do grammar. So it may say grammar day 1, grammar day 2. It's just a reminder for me. And when I'm finished with that lesson, I highlight it. Because we did these lessons out of order, some of them, not all of them, we would do them out of order based on our interest and what we wanted to learn about. And so it just helped me by highlighting them to know what we had already done. So you're like, why do you do them out of order? Because if we're interested in one more lesson over another, then we do it because we can. And you can too. You can use this any way you want to. So that's how I use this page. So you can totally use it like that. And then I also printed out these, and this just has like our shopping list and what we're reading and some movies that we wanted to make sure that we watched and all that good stuff. Another thing I also kept close by was the supply list. This was very helpful because it does break it down by lesson and tells you exactly what you're going to need. So if you like to plan ahead, you have a supply list for all of your lessons. I know someone was looking for that the other day. I don't remember if all the units come with one, but I know this one did. So it was very helpful to get everything together. And then I also just kept the suggested book list handy in case I needed an idea. So that's how the planning went. Now let's talk about seat work. So if you're new, let me find it. If you're new, the year 2 units do contain seat work. On the seat work pages is going to have their spelling focus for the week, some hands-on adaptations if you want some hands-on stuff, tricky spelling words, character training. Their copy work is at the top. And as you can see, he copied it right there. There's also a place like what did I discover today, and if you want to do a schedule. Now people handle these pages in very different ways. I'll tell you what we do. At the beginning of the week, I take whatever week it is. So if we're doing week 1, I'm going to go over the spelling rule with him. I'm going to ask him to spell these words. Sometimes he does it verbally and sometimes he writes it on a dry erase board. If he gets it right, I'm going to put a check mark. And if he misses it, I don't know if you can see it, I put a circle. That circle lets me know that that's the words that we need to work on for that week. He ended up having just 2 words. So if it's just 2 words, he can practice them any way he wants to. He has wrote them on the window before with dry erase marker. He's bounced a ball and spelled them. There's so many ways to practice spelling. I may even link my video down below that I have on fun ways to practice spelling. But one thing he really enjoys, it used to be Spelling City. And then I think they partnered up with Reading A to Z or Learning A to Z. And so now what was Spelling City is in Vocabulary A to Z, I think. And that's what we use. And I just go, I plug in our words, and then it will give him a pretest, another pretest. It will let him play games, all that good stuff. And now that I think about it, I could just put the words in there and give him a pretest, couldn't I? It's amazing the things you discover when you're talking out loud. You could put the words in there and he could take the pretest from there. And that would save me my step from giving him the pretest. Anyway, it's very helpful. He likes to play spelling games. That's his way. And he knows how to spell them by the end of the week. We just kind of, I'm like, okay, spell, this week it was doesn't. Spell doesn't. He spells it out loud. I put a check mark. We move on with our life. You can do spelling any way you want to. That's how we handle it. As far as copy work, I just get him to copy it once. And sometimes we come back and do it more and sometimes we don't. We usually just copy it once. You could type it, any of those things. But this seat work is an awesome addition to the year 2 units. If you're looking for spelling words, if you're looking for copy work, it's an excellent addition to these units. All right, let's talk about the language arts. I get asked this all the time, probably on a daily basis, through my videos, through Instagram, and through the Gather Around Homeschool Facebook community. I get this asked so many times. Tell me how you feel about the language arts. Do you think it's enough? All that good stuff. Yes, I do. I'm very confident in the language arts. I believe that short little doses of lessons are far better than long lessons and tons of busy work. I'm just a big believer in that. Even when I taught school, it was many lessons, a little bit of practice, and move on. That's just the way that I feel. I'm very confident in this language arts, and I will say that. I'll say that every time you ask me. Very confident in it. So the focus of language arts for inventions and ideas was verbs and adverbs. Now, like I said in the beginning, and I always say, if your kiddos do not have any background on that, then of course you're going to need to build that foundation. You can build a foundation by watching videos about verbs, by playing games. There are tons of printable free games on Pinterest and on Teachers Pay Teachers that will help your kids learn all about verbs and all about adverbs. So I always recommend playing games, watching videos, and I did share some adverb videos to the Facebook page. So if you go to albums in the Gather Around Homeschool Facebook community and you go to Inventions and Ideas for the lesson that it's in, and I can't remember exactly which one I shared it in, you can find some adverb videos. Another thing that I always talk about are anchor charts. And when I say that, I always think, oh, they may not know what that is. That was a big word in public school. We made anchor charts for everything. Really, they're just like glorified posters. And so that's an anchor chart. And it's just something to kind of have on handy. It's a visual that the kids can look at to get refresh their memory. You can make them together. This just says adverbs. It tells you what it is. It gives you examples of words to look for in sentences that are adverbs. And I just kept this handy. This just hung up, not like on the wall because it's in our break. We do school a lot at our breakfast nook. But just kind of hung out over there. So when we were doing our grammar pages, if we needed a little help, we had this. This was free from Pinterest. So if you just type in whatever the language arts or grammar skill is for that day, if it's adverbs, if you just type in adverb anchor chart, you're going to get a ton of them. You can go and write them yourself, but you can also print some of them. So this is what I'm talking about when I say anchor chart. So we just keep this handy with the language arts. And if my son needs more help, and so far he hasn't, you've got to remember though, my son's 12, so he's had a foundation built already of, some grammar concepts. So really this was kind of like a review of verbs, and we did have to work a little bit on adverbs, but by the end of the unit, he understands adverbs, how to use them, how to find them in a sentence. He's got it. But if he needs more help, this Help Your Kids with Language Arts from DK is super helpful. You can find a lot of these books at Ollie's sometimes, but I actually got mine. See my little sticker here? That tells me that I got mine at the Goodwill. So be on the lookout if you go to used bookstores for these books because they have them for a lot of subjects. And this will help you give a little bit more info to your kids because you can't expect them to know if they've never done anything with verbs and adverbs. You can't expect them to be able to do the page just by reading that little part at the top. You may have to do just a little bit more work yourself by giving them a video to watch or playing a game with them and then reading that stuff and doing day one. So if you don't know if this is your first gather around video, the language arts is separated by days now. So the first day you do day one. When you come back in the next lesson and you do day two, you may want to show them another video or play a game with them to refresh their memory. You don't want to just assume that they remember what you talked about. So you could do that on day two, and then when you come back to the next lesson, you will do day three. I really like, let me see if I can find one. It's like every time I try to do this, I can't find what I'm looking for. You ever had that problem? You're like, oh, is there language arts in here? Oh, there is. Okay, so like this one, what I really love about it is it's like this day we identified verbs. On this day, we had to show that we understood it, and on this day, we had to say it. So it says, use the lines below to write the grammar rule that you learned this week. And I like the way that it's set up like that. Let's see if we can find another one. It's like all the language arts disappears when I'm looking for it. And I know it's in here because we do it. Oh, here's another one. So this one, it gave us another rule, and this was identify it. So he had to find it in the sentence. This was show it, and this day he needed a little bit of help. So that would be the day that I pulled out this, because this was kind of something he needed some help on. So that's why you see some of my writing over some of his writing. And then this is say it, and I think he just told me this answer. We didn't write it down that day. So that is how the language arts is kind of laid out. Now I do want to make this point because A lot of times people go through and they're like, this is labeled language arts and that's not language arts. In the Inventors, oh my gosh, I can't even talk today. In the Inventions and Ideas unit, there are a lot of pages labeled language arts. And it all has to do with communication. It's learning how to communicate with other people. It's learning how to read body language. It's learning how to decipher those messages that the media put out for us to scare us or to get our attention. And I just want you to know that communication is a part of language arts. When I taught public school, that is all grouped into that huge category called ELA, English Language Arts. And it's reading and it's grammar and it's writing and it's communicating. And so when you see this in here, you may not have a grammar page that day, but if you have a communication page, you are still hitting language arts. So I want you to feel comfortable in knowing your child is getting everything they need in the way of language arts. Please do not feel like you have to run out and buy another language arts curriculum. Not only would that be redundant, it's also going to give your kids lots of busy work, and that doesn't mean that they're going to learn more because you're giving them another curriculum to do. So please try it. And I mean, it's like a different style of learning, and it does take some getting used to. And when I first came out of public school, I'd have been like, nope, not enough. But now that I've learned how children learn and the best ways that they learned, I'm very comfortable with this language arts. So let me move on from that because this video is getting quite long. All right, so in this unit, the big project is they are going to make their own invention, a prototype of their own invention, and you may want to put that up front. You're not actually going to make something and sell it, because my son's one of those kids that if he's going to do it, he's going to do it all the way, and we're going to be selling them in Walmart. And so I had to tell him, this is a prototype. You're going to make a prototype. So the project was awesome. It's spaced out very well, where they brainstorm, where they make their prototype. They learn how to fill out a patent. They learn about disclosure. They learn so many great things that are going to help them in the real world. They learn how to write slogans. They learn how to tell the truth when they are doing a commercial. They had to put together an advertisement, and they have to decide, what are they going to say in their advertisement? What's their slogan going to be? And then they had to take that advertisement, put it together. My son decided to do a commercial, but you could do it any way you wanted to, and then they have to present it. So they're getting some public speaking in at the end. He didn't want me to share his, but his whole project was he wanted to build an alien action figure, and so that's what he did. His prototype was made out of things we had at the house: cardboard, pipe cleaners, and tape. And then the other little boy who homeschools with us, his was a cell phone holder that attached to the back of your chair, came over your head, and held your cell phone right in front of your face. He tried it out a bunch of different times. He wanted to use cardboard and tape, and he's like, I just can't get it to work. And so it was a great lesson that sometimes our inventions don't work, and that's okay. So neither one of them felt comfortable with me sharing it on here, so I didn't share it. But that is what they worked on. It was a very fun project, and we loved it. Okay, let's see what else we did. Science. We hit tons of science. I have to look at my list because we did a lot of science. We talked about reflection and refraction, safe water to drink, static electricity, inertia, light, air pockets, levers, measurements, states of matter, and sound waves. We covered all of that science. It was related to the inventions that we were learning about, and that's what I love about unit studies. They make those connections. And all of the experiments we did were so easy. They were things we already had around the house, and they were very easy to do, and they only took a few minutes. Awesome science. As far as some extra history, we did cover some things about the Industrial Revolution, and we also talked about the Titanic. And plus you learn about all those great inventors and their inventions. So lots of history and science in this. I had to take notes. There was so much. For Bible, I loved the Bible in this one. This was about using our words for good. It was just a great lesson to have, and I think so many people need to hear that lesson. That was awesome. We talked about walking in the light, and we did some Sword of the Spirit lessons as well. And let's talk about writing. So if you're worried about writing, it's not enough writing, I feel like the writing is perfectly fine. I am not one of those people that think you need to write an essay a week. If I had to do that every week, I would hate my life. I don't like to write. I don't want to write a paper every week. And I know my son probably doesn't want to either. So I do love the writing in this. The writing is fun and informative, and he always enjoys it. So for us, I mean, they got practice writing an advertisement, filling out a patent, those kind of things. But what I used as the writing project was this biography of Benjamin Franklin. So it came with this in the back of the book. It also came with some pictures that you could cut out or you could do your own. And so what we did, I didn't just say, hey, here's your book, go write a biography. Okay, they're not going to know what to do. Again, we've got to build that foundation. You've got to build that foundation. Find some cute videos on YouTube about what is a biography that's made for kids. Let them watch it. Again, pull in those anchor charts. This is one that somebody made. I could go and copy this on my own paper, but I just took a screenshot of it and made a little chart. This tells everything about what a biography is, some questions or things you might put into a biography, some common features. It gave some examples. He knows, my son knows what biographies are because we read the Who Was books all the time. So maybe read one of these and tell them this is a biography. What do you notice about them? Do you notice some of these characteristics in this book? So you do have to lay that foundation for what a biography is. There was some information in the student notebook that kind of told you how you could do each page. Of course, you could let your kid do whatever they want to. Just because it's listed as one day, I knew this was a project that was going to take much more time. We actually took 2 weeks to work on this. And the reason why is I wanted him to find the information. Your kids are not going to know all the information that day about Benjamin Franklin. So I did give him about 2 weeks to collect his information. We did write questions that he wanted to make sure he answered on each page. And he went up and looked up the information. I sat there with him because I want to make sure he's looking up credible information. We took notes and then he wrote it into his book. And so this was a project that didn't just take a day. So it was a big project that he had to work on. He learned all about what a biography was and he put it together. And then after he was finished with it, we let it sit a day or two. And then we came back, we worked on revision. What could we add? What could we take away? And we worked on editing, making sure that we had punctuation and things were spelled right. And we do that once they're finished and they've kind of been away from it for a few days. That way they're more willing to work with you on editing and revision. There's nothing worse than putting your heart into something and somebody coming in and correcting it. So try not to correct your kids' writing the day that they do it. It's really just going to push them away from writing. Give them like a couple of days away from it and then come back. So this was the writing project. And let's see, last thing I want to talk about, we just added a few fun extras. I had this really neat game I bought from Teachers Pay Teachers. I'll try to remember to link it. There's a lesson on finding coordinates. And so we did Battleship. It was a printable Battleship. I didn't want to go buy the game because I don't like to spend a lot of extra money, but it was a printable Battleship game. I'll link it down below. That was a lot of fun and it really taught them how to find coordinates. We also, let's see, I don't know what that even means. I don't know what it means. I wrote some on my notes. I don't know what it means. We also, there was a place that you could make slime and we don't like slime. And so we didn't make slime. We did talk about the science of slime and watched a video, but we ended up making our own bouncy balls. Target a few years ago sold some kits in the like Bullseye's Playground, Target Dollar Spot, whatever it used to be called, and you could make your own bouncy balls. And so we did that and talked about how that worked. So we didn't add a ton of stuff. Don't feel like you had to. We had a great experience without adding a ton of extra things. It's a wonderful, wonderful unit. If you have any questions about Gather Round or Inventions and Ideas, please leave them in the comments below. I'll be glad to answer them. And as always, thank you so much for watching.